Hi muckers and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're doing very well. Okay, today's video is going to be super interesting and it is in regards to Jeffree Star and the latest controversy that has made Jeffree being entangled within. What kind of definition was that? Great. I'm working overtime tonight. So basically, Jeffree Star has kind of taken the approach to YouTube now that he doesn't care about it unless he has a product to promote. Now, this is something that is super puzzling and interesting because if you know anything about Jeffree's, longevity on YouTube, one thing that has always came up is Jeffree criticizing influencers, creators, or celebrities, only really interacting with their fans whenever they have a product. Sorry, it's very tired today. Product. A product to sell. This has been the case with Jaclyn Hill. This has been the case. Sorry, I'm getting a Snapchat notification. This is chaos. With Jaclyn Hill, we've seen him do this with other people that are so unknown that I don't know their names. And it's really funny that Jeffree has now become that. Like, Jeffree is the YouTuber that he always has criticized, which is very funny. Sorry to contain myself. Sorry, it's just there's something so ironic about that. Anyways, okay, so he now only really comes back to YouTube. I don't know why that's so funny. I need to take a moment. Wow, no crying. He not only comes back to YouTube every few weeks whenever he has a product to sell. And this time, he's coming back to sell a new release that has to do with, like, mirrors, basically his normal collection size, and a palette within that. Now, I do just want to say that it's interesting that Jeffree Star went from a brand that prioritized less products throughout the year, has now switched to doing more products in a smaller amount of time, and I think this really stems from... Hello? Let's not play with the wires. Chaos Gomez. That's my cat's name. Not Selena Gomez. But Gomez. Okay, so the palette is something that Jeffree really did well for many years because there was anticipation through less releases. So the fact now that within like a year span we get so many palettes and so many releases from Jeffree, I think just boils down to a couple of years ago they would be able to do less and sell more. Now they kind of have to do more to sell more, in my opinion. And so this time, the palette is called Pink Religion, and is a pinks palette, which apparently has been something that both Jeffree and his audience have been asking for and wanting for quite some time. So this is like a big release or a big moment for Jeffree Star Cosmetics, and it has been incredibly underwhelming for a lot of people, and I'm seeing this Reddit thread which has been going absolutely viral of like beauty guru talking about the comparisons with it to other brands and how it's not even original, and also how they just feel like Jeffree Star Cosmetics has just deteriorated for many years now in terms of like originality and actual products, which is interesting and all alleged. But there is something that I do want to say. So he did a release of this, which also got a lot of backlash, and it was basically Jeffree Star in the Catholic Church, and this was the release videos. So the palette was like the Bible, and Jeffree's the priest, and it's very Catholic and very Jesus-y and very gaudy and very like camp, like Jesus, like camp God. And it is getting a lot of backlash from people, obviously, because people are like, this is so insensitive, like, you can't just use the Catholic Church like this. And it really was a big controversy, and I'm very surprised on how. So I'm gonna, like, show you what I mean here, what, like, people are talking about. It's just, like, like, God kind of music, and, like, Jeffree and everyone, like, praying, and there we go, like, at the altar, and... yeah, again, like, church music, which I love, by the way. I love church music. And so, yeah, it's just very, like, gaudy. And everyone is pissed off about this. And honestly, as someone who has grown up, I went to Catholic schools, I went to Catholic, like, community groups and stuff like that. Like, I was always like that. My family are not the most religious. We never went to, like, church regularly. We would go if we had, like, an event or whatever. And as, like, a Catholic person, like, and, you know, religion, and religion kind of just means more for me now because it reminds me of, like, my grandparents and stuff like that, not anything else, particularly for me. So, was I offended by it? No. Like, from someone who has grown up with that. And I asked a couple of my friends, some who are more religious than me, and they were like, this doesn't offend me because it's not original. And this was my point. This is what it, like, boils down to for me. So a lot of people were getting so angry at this. And I'm like, alright, like, if you're gonna get, like, angry at the overall concept, let's get angry at, like, the first person who did it, like, years and years and years ago, who was Madonna. And it's like, I understand Madonna getting the controversy for doing this, but it's like, why is Jeffree getting criticism for, like, such unoriginal ideas? Like, is it really that shocking to y'all anymore now that Jeffree's doing this whenever we've seen it done with Madonna, the legend icon, reinventing everything herself, and then, you know, like, female artists as it passed down, and then maybe some male artists, and now we're seeing Jeffree Star with a makeup palette. Is it the most revolutionary thing in the world? No. Do I understand the criticism of it? No. Because it's just what it is. It's been done so many times that it's not shocking, in my opinion at least, but people had a very big problem with that. Okay, so in terms of the actual palette, Jeffree in the release video was dressed up like a priest as well and was showing it off. So really quickly, this is kind of like what the packaging looks like. It's like a cross, like a Bible, and it opens up and there are obviously pinks. That is the main palette. It is just pink galore. And now, before I get into what this thread are saying and, like, ripping into it, I want to say that from someone who's not really that interested in makeup itself, like, a big criticism Jeffree is getting is he can't come up with original, like, palettes anymore or original colors. And I'm like, alright, but, like, if a makeup brand has done, like, every single color, like, what do the audience want whenever they're like, we want, like, more colors, or they're always doing the same colors? Because it's like, yeah, if they do so many palettes a year, they're gonna, like, their colors are just gonna look the same. Is that not something that, like, we all, like, talk about or whatever like that? Or am I so uneducated in makeup? Like, is there always, like, deeper blues? Or, like, because I feel like he's just done so many fucking palettes and palettes and palettes, and it's like we've seen so many colors, and so people are now like, oh my god, his pink palette isn't even original, like he's done pink before. And it's like, yeah, it's a pink palette, but, like, how many more pinks are there? Now again, that's just me with such limited knowledge of it, so please educate me below. But, like, a lot of people are saying, Jeffree Star reveals pink religion palette. I know this color story isn't exactly revolutionary, but was anyone else reminded of the Glamlight Red Velvet palette? Just with more repetitive shades and bulkier packaging. Not saying he copied, but it's an alternative. And now one thing I want to say about Jeffree's palette is whenever I do look at this, I understand that there are a lot of different pinks or whatever, but so many of these colors, literally, if you take them aside, look like the exact same shade as each other. Them two. Them two. Them two. Them four. Like, that's my criticism of it. Not that they didn't come up with any other, like, versions of pink, but it's just like, this palette just looks like itself, like, doubled. And that could be it. So, this is the kind of discussion that's going on. I'm kind of forgetting his makeup exists nowadays. Doesn't really ever resonate, and I don't hear much about him, and I don't think his launches break the internet anymore. This palette might as well be, you know, like a revolutionary palette. Or a revolution palette. Yeah, and that's my thing. It's like, Jeffree was always at the top in terms of YouTube makeup, at least for, like, company, like, distribution and stuff like that, and making products. And it seems like I'm hearing more about, like, Manny MUA's, like, products these days, or even Laura Lee's, than, like, Jeffree's. And it's like, how did they so quickly, you know, because they were doing so well, and, like, my dog Bonnie, my Frenchie, breathes like that. She's snorting. Go off, queen. It's like, people who even didn't like Jeffree would buy the products. And he would be cancelled and it wouldn't affect sales, and it would sometimes increase them greatly. And it's like, so would the Shane cancellation really be enough to make him, like, start really flopping? Or is it just that, like, people have already bought so much from him and there's so many releases now that it's like, you know, we can't afford this. You know, his stuff is not that cheap at all. And by that I mean, I would say, like, high-end makeup prices. I don't know much about makeup, but that's what it kind of appears to me as. So, I don't know, that's where I'm at with his products. Anyway, so someone said, ColourPop pink palettes have so much more variety than Jeffree Star. When will this ever happen? And this is the thing as well, like, Jeffree's full career on YouTube started because he was, you know, someone who liked to be different, let's say. And with his makeup releases, he was one of the few people in at least 2014 that was, you know, actually... Hold on, my dog is biting my shoes. Let's not. Literally just chewing it. Thanks, Queen. So anyway, he, in his palette, was having a variety of big colours that no brand at the time was really doing. They were doing more neutrals, and, you know, it was very, like, Kylie Jenner, like, faded nudes. And so Jeffree really came into colour at a perfect time, and so the fact now that in colour palettes he's seemingly doing the worst job, in people's opinions, is like, what happened? Anyways, someone said, is it just me or has he lost his way since his breakup a few years ago? I don't follow him and don't own anything from his company, but his company releases were always talked about through different, you know, things for how great they were on different social medias. The documentary series was a 6-long-hour commercial for Conspiracy, and, you know, that's something to also be noted. So it's basically just that he cared so much about promoting his brand at one time, and it seems like now all, like, you ever hear from Jeffree is releases, and I think that is a reason why people don't talk about them, because, like, there's no other Jeffree that you're getting other than, like, commercial Jeffree. And I think that's something to be said. We good? Kitty. So it just, everyone's saying this looks like something he's done before. People are saying they look the same on the eye, all the different colors, and this is so tacky. Okay, again, I just want to clarify that, like, from someone who's not into the makeup world, whenever people say that, like, a pink palette isn't, like, pink enough, what does that mean? And, like, you know, people are criticizing this for something that's confusing me, where they're like, you know, there's not much variation. And I'm like, how many, like, different kind of pinks can you get before even I start criticizing his palette like I did, being like, okay, are they different variations of pink or the same thing? You know, it's so slight, or maybe not even changed at all. So that's something I want people to, like, talk to me about in the comments below. Please, like, I'm very, very, very curious. Like, what is an ideal pink palette? Like, every single pink, or, like, enough? Because that is one of the big criticisms he's getting, that this palette is just not original enough. And also, in terms of the packaging, do I think the packaging is anything revolutionary? No, it looks exactly like stuff you could get at, you know, a cheap store. But again, we'll see how the release does. I mean, it's been a couple days now, and this has not sold out, and I think maybe they're just ordering less and selling less, or maybe not. Maybe they're doing great. I have to say that as well. So I want to know what your opinion is on this backlash. It's just, I don't really understand how Jeffree Star can make y'all, like, you know, so pissed off with, like, a release video now whenever I'm like, we've seen him do the worst of the worst, but this is kind of, like, the tipping point. It's interesting. I mean, the video, again, I understand why people would be upset about it, the same way I understand why people would be upset with Madonna, like, using the Catholic Church years and years and years ago. So, with that being said, we'll talk about it below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and yeah, damn, it really seems that the company has taken an at least creative hit recently. But again, I'm sure there will be many people that disagree with that, so we'll talk about it below, and bye.